Mr. Fromm, do you care to give us a Mr. Fromm, do you care to give us a brief synopsis on today's proceedings?
Yes, some very important things. First of all, we won, or I should say we managed to deflect a motion by the anti-free speech people, particularly Warren and Lisa Kinsella and Richard Warman. They wanted these proceedings adjourned, sine die, that means with no set date to resume. They wanted that until the Section 319 or hate law charges are resolved, which in my estimation from the Topham case would probably be 3 years. So for 3 more years, Dr. James Sears and Leroy St.Germain will be unable to mail anything, including a postcard to their aunt in Canada. As Your Ward News apparently is going to continue publishing. They would also be unable to mail any new issues that they put out. This is a tremendous penalty when the minister, according to the committee, had provided no solid reasons for her decision. This is utterly arbitrary power, and they wanted this to continue. Well, there's a lot of arguments to and fro, but in the end, the hearings will proceed, and I'm glad to see that they'll proceed in January and February, and maybe we can finally get this settled. And I did submit to the committee that it's very unfair that Dr. Sears and Leroy St.Germain are being under this prohibition order for 18 months. That cripples a person. We heard a lot of nonsense today. Mark Fryman, who's a very senior lawyer representing the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, was talking about the taxpayers subsidizing hate and misogyny and blah, blah, blah. He may be knowledgeable about some areas of the law, but I don't think he knows much about the post office. The post office is a crown corporation. It actually makes money because it charges so much. The taxpayers aren't subsidizing anything. So we heard a lot of nonsense. We also heard, I was quite shocked at the vile language used by Warren Kinsella about Dr. James Sears and the paper. We heard terms like neo-Nazi, white supremacist, and I did point out in my submissions that we must be growing an odd crop of white supremacists this year because the publisher, Leroy St.Germain, is an Aboriginal. I mean, there's a lot of name calling, and I objected to that. And my friend, who has a lot of legal background, tells me that the lawyers are just not supposed to speak that way. And this was none of this was in evidence. These are just, it was a lot of name calling and accusation. But I'm glad that in the end, the committee, I think, made the right decision to pursue collusion between the anti-free speech people, Warren Kinsella, Lisa Kinsella, Mark Fryman, and the Metropolitan Toronto Police, because they had a woman come in. She was the detective constable Kieran Bislaw, I think, and she was there as a surprise witness, and we objected, and this is by ambush. But I don't think you or I could summon the Toronto Police to come to a hearing. So we felt that was unfair, and I also made the point that when Lisa Kinsella gave her brief evidence to say these are the documents she'd been given by the police. These are the charge against Dr. Sears and Leroy St.Germain, and then their bail conditions. she testified that these are the documents she was given. She refused to give her home address, and that was allowed. Meanwhile, I look on these documents, and there's the home address of Leroy St.Germain and Dr. James Sears. And I made the submission to the committee that as we go ahead with the hearings after in the new year, that if we're going to have fairness, then anybody who gets up on their hind legs and wants to say something ought to be able to fully identify themselves.
So in other words, one standard for the Kinsellas and another standard for the defendants in this case.
Well, this is
Dr. Sears and St. Germain.
Exactly, and it's a matter of fairness, and I keep coming back to the fundamentals of English common law and Anglo-Saxon justice, and that is you're considered innocent until proven guilty. Meanwhile, poor Dr. Sears and Leroy St. Germain have been suffering a punishment. They've never even been charged.
Well, we also saw some collusion between the arresting officer in the criminal charges against them and the Kinsellas. They seem to be very chummy and very close and cooperating very closely in this matter.
Well, they were
which speaks to these charges being political in nature.
These charges are entirely political. What's going on is a desperately unpopular Liberal government facing an election next spring, and they are virtue signaling to the far left of their base. The anti-free speech people, the professional aggrieved minorities, the LGBTQ XYZ crowd, the man-hating feminists, that they're on side because they've charged that pesty Your War News. It's all political. And it's unfortunate that to help advance the election fortunes of the Liberal Party, that Dr. Sears and Leroy St.Germain will have part of their lives on hold for the next couple of years.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Fromm, and we'll keep following this case.